What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Y'all Don't Like Me podcast. I'm excited about this particular episode with my Sister Michelle. We're going to talk about her a little more, but today we're going to be talking about budgeting and saving, how to be a good financial steward. Let's go.
Everybody put your hands like this. Everybody gon' clap like this. Everybody wave your hands like this. Everybody gon' clap like this. Everybody put your hands like this. Everybody gon' clap like this. Everybody wave your hands like this. Everybody gon' clap like this.
All right, everybody, listen, if you have not already subscribed to the channel and to the podcast, I need you to first hit that subscribe button, all right? And then while you're at it, hit that notification bell so that you are in tune every time we put up a video. And last but not least, give me a thumbs up for this video. You are going to love this video. I'm with a real one today. That's how I'm going to start it off. I'm with a real one today. My sister, Michell Turner. She is a Christian apologist.
I'm not an apologist. I'm a regular delicate flower.
Don't listen to her. I'm telling y'all. And I mean this in the most respectful way. She's a beast when it comes to defending the faith, right? And I was just talking to Michelle. So Michelle is she's going to smile. Her voice is going to be soft. She's sweet, but don't play with her, okay? Let's just say right now we talking about don't play with her spiritually, don't play with her with the Bible, don't play with her with God, because she's gonna give it to you. She knows her information, she knows how to defend the faith. She's someone I do truly admire, honestly. And I told her this when I was asking her to be a part of this podcast. She's one of the greatest encouragers in the faith that I know. Like Michelle encourages everybody. Like, and it's like, I'm like, how do you remember everybody's birthdays? And how do you remember people's anniversaries? And like, but she's always pushing, right? She's a pusher. She's an encourager, very knowledgeable. And as we get ready to talk about, financial stewardship on today, she knows what she's talking about. She has a master's degree in finance. She works within the financial arena and teaches about finances. So this is going to be a good conversation with someone who knows what they're talking about. But first, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Body Bag Bennett.
Yeah, she gave me this name, Body Bag Bennett. She started it. So everybody who calls me that, we give credit to Michelle. Thank you for being on with us.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. Let's get into these Fab Five. We want to know a little more about you. A lot of my audience already will be familiar with you, and some who may not, they're going to get familiar with you today. So we're going to start off with our Fab Five questions. And the first question is, what is your favorite book of the Bible?
Ecclesiastes is probably my favorite book. And most people, like, when they initially read it, it seems so sad and pitiful and depressing. Like, it's all, and we're talking about money. So he does go in, like, you accumulate all this stuff and all of it's vanity. And the word isn't actually vanity. In the Hebrew, is actually like a puff of smoke. Like, it's here and then it's gone. It can cloud your judgment. So we can use like that smoke or that hovel, like, in a different kind of way. Like, it could cloud you from seeing what's real, or cloud you from focus on God, or it's just like it's gone like in a poof like that. So that's one of my favorite books, because actually it's very to me encouraging. It's not sad as most people like to think it is. So that's probably my favorite book of the Bible, because he's like, at the end of it, spend time with your family, love your family, and worship God and follow God. Like, that's really what matters at the end of the day.
For sure. Did y'all see how she started breaking down the Hebrew to you? I'm told you.
No. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. And I stand on that statement.
She's breaking it down already. All right, let's get to our second question. What is your favorite movie?
Menace to Society.
See, I told y'all. See, that's the other part right there. See?
It's a good movie. It has a lot of nuance to it. It shows like how you can be so caught up in your environment, like the social aspect of it. You can be so caught up in your environment that things that isn't even true to your character can start to jade you. Again, Hubble, you don't see clearly because you're jaded by what's surrounding you. And that's why I read widely and deeply because it enhances my knowledge and what I know. I get to view different people's perspective. But if your perspective is only this little box, um, and that's all you see, then that's what you'll become. If you're not surrounded by different experiences or different things, it will definitely stunt your growth in life. It will stunt your maturity. And so, like to see how their maturity was stunted based on their environment, based on what they seen when they were kids and how they were raised in the community that they were surrounded in. And then it goes back against systematic injustices as well, because these neighborhoods are not built in a vacuum. These neighborhoods are there because of so many other reasons. But
Yep.
that is my favorite movie. Say
Exegete,
okay.
exegete the movie, Michelle. Exegete the movie. All right. What's your family dynamic?
So I have nephew, my little cousin, and I also raised my goddaughter. I have her little brother a lot too. So I take care of them, spend a lot of time with them. They they know the Bible better than some adults, which
Yeah,
is
let's
sad.
go. Um,
The girl, I think she's going to like. I laugh. The boy, he's really super smart. That's my little cousin,
okay.
and he knows the stuff, but he's more like, man, he's like a daisical with it. And the
Yeah.
girl, everywhere we go, you know, Jesus is God, and He died and rose in 3 days.
Let's
And I, and
go.
like
Let's
she asks
go.
people this out of nowhere, people be looking at her like, and she's 7, and she's like so petite and
Wow.
it's so funny because people just be looking like this. She just really, yeah. Everywhere we
Right.
go, she wants everybody to know who Jesus is and
That's
what
good.
happened. I was like, I did you well with the gospel. They asked him, well, he's like, yeah, no, whatever.
That's good. That's good. You got to train them up while they're young. Put that word in them. Put that word in
Hmm.
them. All right. Who is your favorite social justice or civil rights advocate, past or present?
Huey P. Newton, the
Oh,
founder of the Black Panther political. So
ah,
him and Fred Hampton, I go between those two, but Huey always wins out. We
ooh,
had to write a thesis paper when I was in high school, and I
okay.
did mine on a Black Panther political party. I went to a very less melanated school,
Okay.
and when I tell you, they were just sitting there like,
Like,
like
okay.
what? Yeah, I've always been about that life.
Let's go.
I went
Let's
to the
go.
thing where I had my
That's right.
beret on, did the presentation. It was a lot. They was like, "Whoo, this is
Uh,
a lot." But yeah, I would say Huey P. Newton. And again, environmental reasons. Like a lot of people look at the war on drugs. It was started mainly to bring down a Black Panther political party. Like they flooded our communities
mhm.
and changed gun laws because now they're like, "Well, give us our guns or give us
Exactly.
nothing." But they literally changed gun laws because the Black Panther political party had their guns out because it was legal, and they flooded our neighborhoods with drugs to bring down the Black Panther political party. And I'm like, you guys, like, y'all were so intimidated, like, pull yourself by your bootstraps. And then when you do, you're like, I got more power than you. Watch me destroy your communities. Like, okay, thanks, maybe.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's deep, man, because I don't hear a lot of people give it up for Huey P. But we definitely need to look into him. He was big. He was big for the African American community,
Mm-hmm.
especially. Okay, here's the big one. Now we come down to the final big question. Who is your GOAT for the NBA? Greatest of all time for Michelle.
LeBron James. Who else
Let's
would it
go.
be?
Like, who else would it be? Like, is that even a real question at this point?
That's what I be asking myself. People be like, oh, it's Jordan. I'm like, because you like his shoes? Because I don't
Right.
understand.
Exactly.
Got to be his shoes.
It got to be the shoes. It got to be the shoes. Well, you definitely passed if for nothing else because you got LeBron James as the GOAT. All right, let's get into this conversation. We are here to talk about budgeting and saving, how to be, good financial stewards. And I was talking with you a little bit earlier. I love talking about this, right? Because I think we get money wrong a lot of time, even in our faith, right? Where because the Bible gets us where it needs to get us and corrects us where it needs to correct us when we have the wrong
Mm-hmm.
attitudes about money. So clearly the word of God teaches us in many Old Testament and New Testament about loving money and you can't serve God and all the
Hmm.
scriptures. It teaches us against greed, against selfishness, against all of these things, and having the wrong type of ambitions when it comes to money and all that. But then on the other side of it, God loves a cheerful giver, right? On the other side of it, He desires that we take care of our household, right? And
Hmm.
this life that we're living in, you're gonna need some money to take care of yourself and your household. Proverbs teaches us about storing up,
Hmm.
different things like that. Even Deuteronomy says a guy who gives us the power, to receive wealth. So
You still
even
on my scriptures. Thank you.
right, okay, my bad. I'm on your street corner. I'm on your street corner. We'll get into it. All right. So, but I really want us to dive into that because I think money a lot of times when we deal with it wrong, we end up in some stressful places, sometimes some depressed places that ultimately end up affecting our relationship with God and can, right? If we like aren't if we're so tied into the money and dealing with it wrong, not being good stewards, a lot of times we're blaming God for not having enough when it's really we've wasted what He has given us and our resources. So I want us to help some people out today, even myself, when it comes to money. And so I think you're the one for the job. So we'll start off with the first question. Let's start off with defining what we're kind of talking about today. So, what do we mean when we're talking about financial stewardship?
So financial stewardship is just knowing how to properly use the resources that God has given you, being diligent about ensuring it goes to the right places, just knowing how to use the tools that God has also given us in order to understand. Like we're supposed to be good stewards of our time. That means that we're supposed to use our time wisely. Good stewards of our money, use our money wisely. Good stewards over the Bible. That means read it in context wisely. So we're supposed to be good stewards, like with our family and everything that God has given us. A lot of times we'll be good stewards with the Bible and sometimes with our time because sometimes we start scrolling and lose it.
Right.
But when it comes to money, people tend to all all stewardship seems to go out the window when
Yeah.
it comes to money.
That's good. That's good. And I think it's good that you kind of gave us that broad picture that we should be being good stewards of all of the areas of our lives that we need stewardship in, right? But then when it comes down to this finance piece, we don't need to lose our stewardship brain in a sense when it comes
Hmm.
down to that and start being reckless, like you said, with our resources. And that's what's important. God gives us resources. He gives us the ability to take care of the things that we need to take care of. And we don't want to mismanage and misuse that which God gives us. All right. So we got that kind of in place as a foundation. So let's build off of that. Budgeting and saving, right? Let's talk about though, maybe even give a little bit of a definition of what do we mean when we're talking about budgeting and saving, and how do those two elements play a role in our stewardship?
So budgeting is basically just telling your money where to go. And so
Mhm.
people they start budgeting and they're like, I can't stick to this. But you create your own budget. Nobody creates it for you. So if you can't stick to what you put in place, then the problem isn't the budget. The problem is you. And I have to tell people that sometimes, like the budget's not the problem. You're the problem. And I always tell people when it comes to budgeting, if there's something that you like, then put that into your budget. Like
Right.
don't overdo it. And if you know you don't have any self control, use cash envelope, which is another way we'll get into how you can do budgeting and keep yourself together and don't start swiping your card once you spend all the cash. And it'll show you how quick you don't have self control. When you see how quick that money goes, you're like, wait a minute, this supposed to last. And you're like, nope, it's gone now.
Wow.
So that's just is really just you saying, I'm going to put X amount of dollars here and X amount of dollars there. Saving is when you either put money away for, there's many different ways to save, but saving is just storing money up basically to go to other things or to have for later, or in the case of emergencies, or to pass down to your children or to pay for their college. So savings is just taking the money and putting it away, which you could budget for that as well. So
Those are
that's the difference.
good definitions for us to have an understanding as we go into this conversation. As you say that, um, I I recognize you said something very important. You stated that a lot of time, well, first you stated that we get to direct when within budgeting where our money goes, like telling our where to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that I had to really get better with my stewardship because the money was telling me where to go as opposed to me telling it where to go. So like because I seen I had it, I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
go do this and do this. And I really wasn't being a good steward. And it was really during the time of the pandemic that I found out how much I wasn't being a good steward because I wasn't going anywhere, right? And so I wasn't doing all the spending that I was doing because before the pandemic, I would be at restaurants 3 to 4 times a week, just being
Mm-hmm.
reckless, right? Not really being a good steward. And I had food in the refrigerator, but I don't want to cook, so I'm just always out, going to Fridays, getting the brownie obsession and all of these things. Man, during the pandemic when I wasn't able to go out as I did, I was like, Lord, I really can save this much money and I really can
Yeah.
have this. Like you really been that good to me that I've been wasting
Mm-hmm.
my resources. And so it really is important. I think that we really recognize that we do have to have more discipline, about ourselves when it comes to our budgeting, when it comes to our saving. I've heard you mention envelope system, so I'm really interested in when we get to, some of the strategies that you're going to give us to help with our budgeting and saving. But before we get there, let's talk about how does not having a healthy budgeting or healthy saving system, how does that affect us negatively? So obviously we need to budget, we need to have some sense of saving, but let's talk about when we're kind of reckless and we don't have any of those things, how does that begin to impact our lives negatively?
So, one of the places you like, oh, I go out to eat a lot. Money and when it comes to money, food and clothes are the biggest
Mhm.
ways we waste money. So when I first started like actually being more diligent with my money, I wrote down everything I spent, like every single dollar I spent. And I kid you not, I spent $70 a week at lunch just at work. And I was like, I'm really spending $70 a week. I
Right,
was like, what am I buying? I don't even like this food I'm eating. And
right,
then I realized, like, you know what? I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to pack and I'm not going to spend $70 a week at lunch because it's so easy. Because you're like, I get got it. I ain't gonna worry about it.
yeah,
Like, I get
yeah,
enough money to eat this lunch.
yeah,
And then like I like expensive clothes and I was like, I got to stop buying all these shenanigans that
yeah,
I'm buying. So it and I was trying to stewardship as a kid, so I did better than most, but I
mhm,
still was like, I got it. Let me go ahead and well, I got to say no. I got it. I ain't got no kids. I'm living my life. And then I was like,
yeah,
yeah, maybe not so much. So it's important because not everybody is as fortunate as us to be able to have those resources.
right,
And if you don't have a lot of money and then you don't tell your money where to go, we tend to waste it. And then when it's time for you to pay a bill or it's time for you, your kid has something coming up in school and they need something paid for, or an emergency come up, you don't have it because you have wasted your money,
yeah,
um, just buying stuff that isn't even really necessary. Like you got this nice new outfit and you've eaten out every single day. And now when it comes time for you to pay something that's an emergency or take care of your kids, you don't have it. And now you have to ask other people. And then that puts you in a cycle of, now I got to pay this person back and I don't have this and I don't have that. And it perpetuates this cycle that you really can't get yourself out of.
yeah, that's really good. A lot of anxiety and different things come from the lack of discipline, right? To budget
Mm-hmm.
things. And like you said, when we had the money to pay our bills, when we had the money to pay back what we owe, which the Bible also encourages us to do,
Mm-hmm.
when we had the money to do these things, we went and spent it on that outfit when we already have 100 outfits in our closet. We went to spend it on those new pair of
Mm-hmm.
shoes. And now when we have to pay the stuff that really matters, we're like,
Yeah.
they're gonna come from God, right? When it's like, probably go take those shoes back and then you'll
And
have
then
what
you'll have it.
you need.
Yep.
So
And then another thing too, because we are so poor for money, it can lead you to bad theology as well. Because
mm,
now you're like, oh, it doesn't meet a need, so it must be seen. That's nowhere in the Bible.
come on.
Nobody, the Bible does not teach that. So
Mm,
then we give out of necessity
Mm,
instead of giving as a cheerful giver. And then we're
good.
mad when God doesn't give us what we gave this money for. Well, you should have taken the money and been a good steward over the money before you had to just like, oh, let me get this. And God gonna make sure I got all this other stuff. And God's like, that's not what I thought at all in the Bible. So I'm not sure where you're getting it. And they be like, oh, 30, 60, 100 fold. That's not what that scripture even means. So I wish people would stop saying that. But we just we can't do spend our money reckless in how we want to, and then try to give God $10, $15 in church and expect it to come back in a certain way because we were poor with our finances. And then again, it can mess up your theology because you're like, I gave this money and I didn't get this back and I didn't get this paid. Well, God, like I didn't. That's not what I said. You didn't read the Bible to know what I said because you did. It wouldn't have led you down this road of poor theology.
That's deep. That's dope, right? Because you're 1000% right. Because even when it comes to finances, there's a lot of misinformation out there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when talking about giving, right? And I think that's the thing. Like that's one good reason why to talk about stewardship and how God wants us to manage within, even the area of our finances, because doing the kind of let me give this seed to get this back kind of theology with money is not biblical, like you said. So now that we're mentioning Bible, let's get into some Bible. Right. So we want the Bible to be the foundation that we build off of, even in this conversation. So are there some scriptures, right, that do encourage us in the area of financial stewardship? Some things that we can pull on from the Bible that even motivate us and help us to have better understanding of why we need to budget, why we need to save, why we need to be good stewards of our treasure.
Yeah, so I would tell people to read Colossians 3:23, um, Leviticus 25:30, because that talks about paying back what you owe when it comes to debt. And there is good debt and bad debt. Most people have bad debt though. It's not
Right.
it's not good debt. I would say First Corinthians 4:2, because they like Colossians talks about like, we're supposed to be wise with what God has given us. And again, it not specifically says money, but it tells us to be wise with what God has given us. And I just those are like some of my go-to ones for me because it encouraged me. Like even First Timothy talks about how we need to be good stewards over our family, take care of our family, take care of our household, and you can't take care of your family if you don't have any money to take care of your family. Like you're like we don't want to admit it, but we need money to survive. Like
Yeah.
we have house payments or rent, or you don't live in like a major city, you live somewhere far, you need a car to get back and forth to work, and kids have dentist appointments, and
Right.
those copays add up, add up pretty quickly, and clothes and shoes. Like it doesn't have to be like the most expensive clothes and shoes, but they still need clothes and shoes. They have field trips that cost money, and so life costs money, and there are people um who need things. Like if somebody in the body of Christ is like, hey, I need help with A, B, and C, then we're supposed to be there to help. And it's like when in the Bible when the church in Jerusalem was having a really bad famine and didn't have a lot, Paul was able to go to the more affluent churches and get money from them to take back to Jerusalem to help them. That's how the body of Christ is supposed to work. But if everybody is either um, poor or have poor financial stewardship, because there's people who make a lot of money who are still poor, and it's because they are not good financial stewards, then it hurts the body as a whole because then nobody has to help with the things that need the help. It's a minute I know everybody's like, oh, the Bible, the word is supposed to be free. Well, it's supposed to be, but things that need to get done isn't free. The church's water isn't free. The church's
Oh,
gas
oh,
isn't free. Y'all want to be in there tearing all night? That electric is not free. Um,
oh,
like there's things
oh,
the church has to pay for. Like, and then like I know a lot of churches that have like pantries and stuff like that. The food isn't coming falling out manna from heaven. Like they have
right.
to go to the store to buy these things. And then like I know your church do a lot of things for the community. Those things are not free. Like when you give away book bags and stuff like that, if the church doesn't provide these things to the community, these things are not free. And the church is a body of Christ. The community should take care of one another. So we need to have money, but we need to be responsible uh with that money. And I always tell people like I'm not I get a lot of slack when I say this. Like, I don't believe in tithing, but I assure you, I give more than people who do. And that's not to be like, oh, look at me, I'm a big giver. Is to show that God has blessed me abundantly. And so it's my responsibility to bless those who may not have abundance. And those, we have missionaries
Yeah.
who are supposed to take care of the missionaries if the church doesn't have money. Like Paul had to like make tents by day and then go out and minister the word throughout the time. Like that's a difficult feat. That's not something easy to do, to have to go and have a job and then have to hear the problems and help other people learn theology and whatnot. That is a lot of that's a lot of like time you have to spend, and then everybody is pulling you different ways. So like people who work like solidly in ministry, especially full time, they
Yeah.
should be taken care of. And
Right.
I don't understand people like, well, they didn't get a job like everybody else. You want them to have a job, but then you want them to come to your grandma's funeral. You want them to talk to you while you're going through heartbreak. You want them to pray for you and your family because you was bad with your money. Or you're having marriage problems and you want them to counsel you. You
Right.
want all of these things from them, but then you want them to work too. Some got to give. And they most likely have families as well. So
Yep.
which one do you actually want? Because we can't have both ways. So we need to be able to support the missionaries and even the local missionaries, because we need more local missionaries in abroad right now. We need to be able to support them. The way we support them is with money. There's people who like devote a lot of their time and resources to like YouTube channels and stuff like that to like disseminate information. Books to give that information that they're giving freely are very expensive. So like even just being like, hey, I want to join your Patreon or do whatever, like those things are helpful. If we are not good stewards of our money, we can't do that. So we are strictly consumers, and Christians shouldn't strictly be consumers. We're consuming the word and we're consuming all this knowledge and information, and we have given nothing back. So
Mhm. That's some good stuff. That's some good stuff, Michelle. So yeah, the Bible definitely supports us being givers and being cheerful givers, right?
mm-hmm,
But in order to be a giver, you got to have something to give. And I think you really brought an important factor out that, God has really blessed many of us so that we can bless others. And that's the whole goal, right? To be a blessing
mm-hmm,
to somebody else. But if we're being reckless with our treasure, and being reckless with the wealth and the substance that God has given to us, it makes it more difficult, right, to help others' needs. And then you even brought up the Jerusalem church and the Acts, I call it the Acts church, where man, they like if you really look at them, they were just givers, taking care of
mm-hmm,
taking care of people that had needs, and that's what the church is supposed to be about. Sometimes
mm-hmm,
we can get so individualistic in our kind of worldview when it comes to finances, as opposed to having that view of the body of Christ. So like, yeah, God, you bless me to be able to take care of some, the needs that I have, to take care of my family, but then you've given me the ability to also be a good steward over these things. And now I realize you've given me so much that I really can help this person that doesn't have as much as I have. And even
mm-hmm.
even to get now in a place in their life where they can now be a blessing to others as well. So good stuff. So now let's talk about some ways to actually strengthen our ability to budget, right? So let's talk about some strategies and some tips that you can give to us that will help us to budget.
Okay, so the main thing I tell everybody, like when I'm teaching them how to budget, is I ask them for 30 days, literally write down everything you have, write everything you spend your money on. So there's an app called Budget. It's free because I know a lot of people have their phone with them and they may not necessarily have someone to write it down. Just go through Budget and enter every single dollar you spend. And
Mhm.
then look where you're spending your money at. Because in order to create budget categories, we have to see what categories you spend your money in the most. Because I don't want people to go from, oh, I eat out every day, to no more eating out at all, because that's setting them up for failure. So I just have everybody write down what they spend their money on for 30 days. And then look at where you're spending your money. So if your mortgage or your rent is $1,000, which is probably cheap for today's time, if it's $1,000 and then your car like 250, um, and your household bills, honestly, most people's household bills are not more than like $1,500 to $2,000, depending on where you live at. And if you're making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, you will be able to actually save. But then we start looking at where we actually spend our money. and we have a lot of like Disney Plus and Hulu and all this other stuff. And like those aren't bad things, but start to look at how often do I actually utilize a lot of things that I spend my money on. And so after you write down everything for 30 days, then start to categorize. If I do eat out every day, um, let me, instead of me spending $200 a week, let me go ahead and just budget for $100 and put
Right.
it in cash, because we have our card, we will tend to overuse it as opposed to looking at it. And plus cash is tangible. So we can see, like it's easy, like I'm swiping, but when you actually see, oh, I have used this whole $100 in 2 days, I may have a problem. So I would say, if it's a budget category that you know that you don't have any self control in, don't force yourself to get it like automatically. Start to be like, hey, I'm going to put this in a cash envelope because it's your budget. And then once you start to have more self control, you'll start to see that $100 go farther. When you'll see your savings account get better. So just start to like budget for categories that you have. So I always tell people, make sure you put something personal in there, because you don't want to work 80 hours every 2 weeks and then you feel like all my money is going towards everything but me. And
Right.
so one of my favorite books is, well, favorite books about money is The Richest Man in Babylon. And one of the principles of The Richest Man in Babylon is to pay yourself first. And a lot of people don't pay themselves first because we spend it on food, we spend it on clothes, we spend it on all this other stuff. So pay yourself first. So after you pay yourself first, then you'll start to build up a savings. Even if you have to start off with 1%, if you make $100, give yourself $1 because
Mhm.
you're paying yourself. And so I also tell people, like, in addition to categorizing everything, putting everything into proper categories, like this is my home. So my home is my mortgage, my gas, electric, my water, my trash, and then there's my family. So like if your kids have activities and they're coming up, so with your sinking funds, which is another different thing. If you know your kids, Christmas, birthdays, school time comes every year. Put something aside every month. So
Yeah.
when it comes, you're not surprised, like, ta-da, and you shouldn't be. You know
Exactly.
their birthdays was January 1st,
Exactly.
January 1st last year. So put something aside for that as well. So it's really just categorizing everything and putting everything into its proper place. And once you like see where all your money's going, write down all of your bills and write down all of your debt. So look at how much your bills are. So I'm just $4,000, $5,000. I don't know how much people make on a regular basis. So I'm just guessing. I don't know. People are like, oh, minimum wage like $7. I
Right.
don't think that's $4,000 like off the top of my head. That don't seem like that's $4,000. But I don't know. I'm going by what I paid when I got out of college. And that's probably still not regular. I don't know. What I'm saying is, if you make $4,000, we just gonna go to base $4,000 a month. If write down all of your bills, and if your bills exceed that $4,000, there's a problem. You're living above your means. So
Mm.
you need to either take away, like take something away.
Right.
I don't. You have to, because some of the stuff we put down as our bills that aren't necessarily things we have to have. Again, Hulu, Disney Plus. Like if you're paying for gym memberships, are you actually going to the gym? You're probably not. Most people with gym memberships don't go to the gym unless it's January 1st to February 1st.
Right. Right.
Then after that, they just waste their money. So cancel all that stuff. And if you really do want to work out, you can walk for free. Like we have to start being creative, like walk for free, get you some resistance bands and stuff, and like work out at home. There's a bunch of YouTube stuff for free that you can use to work out. So just start to actually just like write down everything. So after you write down what you spend your money on for 30 days, you can see where all your money's going, write down how much your bills are, write down how much your debt is, and then see what your debt to income ratio as well. Because if you try to say you're trying to do better with your finances, most of the time it's going to affect your credit too. We're not good stewards of our money. And the Bible does tell us to pay what we owe. So don't over, I think like 30% is what the utilization should be for your credit. Don't have over 30%. Most people are over that.
Yeah.
I digress. Most people are over that 30%. So just see exactly where you're at. So how much am I bringing in? If I'm bringing in $4,000, my household bills are $2,000, then why do I have money? Because because it's appearing, I have $2,000. And if you're buying groceries, like when you go grocery shopping, do you have a list with you? Or you just going off of vibes and good times in the grocery store? Because a lot of people do. They go in there,
By the time
no
you get up
list.
to the register, you like, what did I just get?
What did I buy vibes and good times. And I just be like, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. Like, how did you do that? Well, I just went in there and I got stuff. Make a list. And so again, it's so many things that encompass budgets. Make a list of what you're going to eat for the week, and then buy those things that you need. Look
Right.
in your pantry, see what you already have to go with some of that stuff, and then buy the stuff for the food that you're going to make within that 2 week time or week time or however often you get paid. And that way you can control your grocery budget. And so then you'll start to see, like, as you implement some of these little things as we go, that I'm doing better with my money. I now have more money to save, and I now can breathe a little bit more because if you just going off again, vibes and good times in the grocery store, you're like, I did have a budget and I went grocery shopping and stopped eating out. But then you put like $25 worth of cookies in the cart. That's not like you need $25 worth of cookies. You
Right.
get $5 worth of cookies, you'll be okay. But
Right.
again, it all of this like kind of works together. So my biggest thing is knowing where your money's actually going and then telling it where to go as opposed to, like you said, it's telling me where to go. And you don't have to cut out. I like to go out to eat. I like Starbucks. And I'm not saying like, oh, just cold, quit Starbucks. I don't like Starbucks. I don't think it's real coffee, but I digress. I don't drink coffee to begin with.
Right.
So my opinion probably shouldn't matter. They got some good lemonade refreshers. That's really it.
They're
But
good lemonade.
yeah, like you don't have to um cut it out. Just don't do it all the time.
Right.
Drink coffee at home is much cheaper, but I'm not saying just like cut everything out
Right.
automatically, but learn how to put everything in its proper perspective. So if you're spending $500 on Starbucks, I don't think nobody, people probably are. I don't think nobody's actually spending that much,
I got
but
that.
just take it down to 100.
Right.
So in that way you can start to see, like, as I'm putting these things down,
Mhm.
I'm now having more money. I'm not feeling as stressed and I'm getting rid of this coffee addiction to Starbucks. And most people are addicted to the name. They're not even really addicted to the coffee. Again, I don't drink coffee, and I had coffee once, and I was like, "This is nasty. Why are people paying all this money?" And then there's so much sugar in it. And I just was like, "Oh my God,
Have you
why
tried
you
the
need?"
caramel macchiato?
I don't really like coffee, so I don't. What did I
But
have
see,
in there?
I didn't
It was
even
regular
drink
coffee.
Starbucks until somebody got me. I think my wife got me the caramel macchiato, and I'm gonna be honest, I've been addicted ever since.
They say, "Look at you. It's the sugar. It's not
It's
even that
definitely
it's
the
good.
sugar for
It's
me.
the sugar in there. You like this is some
I'm a
delicious
sugar baby.
caramel. You
Right.
have not tasted a drop of coffee in there."
Forget the coffee,
Um,
give me the caramel.
exactly. And so, like, I don't drink coffee, but if I drink it, it's because I really need a quick boost of energy. So I just drink like regular coffee, like black, and it's disgusting. Black coffee is disgusting anyway, but Starbucks is really not good, and it showed me their quality is not the best. And a lot of times we choose names over quality anyway.
Mm.
But my biggest thing when it comes to budgeting is knowing where all your money is actually going to begin with. And if
Right.
you write down everything that you're spending your money on to start off, you will put yourself ahead of the game. Like you will then can see like I really am not doing good. Like I'm writing down where you spend money for 30 days. And I tell people all the time, do what you always do. Don't change it up because you know you're writing it down because you're
Right.
setting your own self up for failure. Do what you always do. And people are always surprised how much money, I kid you not, they spend on food. Food is the biggest reason people blow their budgets every month because, and they'll be like, well, I bought groceries.
Right.
But then you ate out every day after you bought groceries.
Yeah.
Pick one. At the point of groceries costing now, it might be cheaper to eat out. I don't know, but it's just
These
it's a bit
kids, man, seem
ridiculous.
like I bring home groceries, seem like they eat it, everything that I just went and bought the same day that I bought it.
Yeah.
But I think everything you're saying is good and what we need to be aware of. And I think even that, like you're saying, that tracking of for 30 days, because most of the time, like we're just so much in the habit of just spending, paying bills, paying things, but never really adding it up, never really knowing in over a month's time how much money went out, how much money came
Mm-hmm.
in, seeing where that ratio is, and how much like when you just think about it on the most natural, logical level of thought, you know how much more you probably could have and how much more you probably could do if you actually knew what was going on with your finances,
Mm-hmm.
right? And finances are too important to our daily lives to not know, right, what's going on. And like you said, and budgeting and finding out and being able to correct maybe some things that need to be corrected. Sometimes we like you said, we have things that we don't actually need, right? That we could get rid of. And then sometimes it's just about a sacrifice because there may be some areas of our lives that are not getting taken care of, things we need to do. You got children in college, you need to be helping getting started
Mm-hmm.
preparing for college. And like you said, not waiting until the last minute. We got birthdays coming up, you got different vacations, you're planning different trips, and you're waiting to the time that that birthday has come. And now you over here trying to gather all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to give your child the best, greatest birthday party they've ever had. But you haven't planned for any of those things, right? And so even Luke talks about, counting up the costs, right? Before we get into doing certain things. I think we can relieve a lot of stress. We can relieve a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry. If we actually just bettered our stewardship, even in the purpose of budgeting, naming those things that our money are going to, knowing what it is and seeing when, like, how many subscriptions do we have that we don't even use no more? Do we need them? Can we end them? So different things are things that can save you money as well. So let's talk about that a little bit. I know you mentioned the envelope system for saving. You maybe can talk about a little more, bring that out. What is the envelope system that helps us to save, and any other specific saving tips that you may have.
Okay, so the cash envelope system is, we'll start with that. Cash envelope system isn't necessarily saving. What it is you're controlling how much money you're actually going to spend on certain categories so you won't go over. So
Hmm.
like I would tell the top ones I tell people to do is groceries, because if you know you only have $200 to spend on groceries, you're
Right.
less likely to go off of just, I'm just gonna put everything in here because it's not within your budget. And if you know that you are only going to spend $50 on Starbucks caramel macchiatos every 2 weeks, then
Right.
you know, like, I can't just go and buy one every single day.
Right.
Let me go ahead. And again, learning how to budget in a lot of areas teaches us self control if we stick to it, because now we realize we didn't need all those things we thought we needed. And we learn what a need and the actual one is, because we want, and it's not necessarily a need. And so, like, I tell people, like, those are some of the ones that, like, even with gas, like, put your gas in a cash envelope. It'll cut down on you just randomly driving around to places because you're like, I have to make this gas last, and I'm going to budget for this. And when you do it, be realistic. Like, are your kids in sports? Do you have extra activities that you actually do that
Right.
you enjoy? Like, how much would, if you just did your basic stuff that you would normally do, like, how much would you spend on actual gas? So those are the main ones, like eating out, clothes. And so, like, I always tell people when it comes to, so the other thing was sinking funds. So sinking funds, my sinking funds are vacations, kids activities, school clothes, birthdays, but birthdays encompasses everybody though. Birthdays, and I can't think of the other one right now. I can't think of it right now. So, but those are mine because I know every year all my friends and family have birthdays, and I want to be able to give them birthdays. Oh, just have one for gifts, because if, like, it's not a birthday, but it's a graduation or a baby shower, like, I have money budgeted for those things. So if I want to send somebody a baby shower gift, I just take it out that sinking fund. I don't even have to budget for it. I have a sinking fund for it, and I'll just pull out that sinking fund. And then I have, the birthdays again. The kids. You want to throw these extravagant parties. The girl has already told me that she wants her birthday party at Urban Air. I think the cheapest package for what she actually wants is like $400.
Wow.
Um, so I'm gonna try to get her mama to give me some of the $400.
Right.
But if not, I have it. The boy, like, oh, this year, because he'll be 11, it was like, well, if I think he wants to go to, we got this place called Kings Island here in Ohio, and because I offered it last year, he was like, you know what, I might want to go to Kings Island. Kings Island is not a cheap trip because I got to pay for the hotel. Because I mean, are you really gonna go and drive back home too? No, I'm not doing none of those things. So these things aren't cheap. So you have to make sure there's money in place. My mom, her birthday, I love her. So you want diamonds, mama, you gonna get some
Right.
diamonds. And so, like, we just have to make sure we have sinking for that. And I like to travel. I travel quite a bit. So I have to make sure I have some money to travel. Or if an opportunity to travel comes up, I want to have the money to go. And we miss a lot of opportunities because we're not good with our money. But if somebody's like, hey, you want to go to Greece for 2 weeks? I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
So I have a travel sinking fund for that. And I told people put your sinking funds in a high yield savings account because now you're earning interest
On it.
on those money that you're saving. So even you got to pull some out. I have one for my car too.
Okay.
I have a sinking fund for my car, so that way if I need an oil change or if I need new tires, I can just go there instead of being stressed out like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get these tires. I just go to my sinking fund, pull it out, and be like, I'm gonna get some tires. I need to get,
Right.
oil change. I'll just use my sinking
Mhm.
fund for that. So I have one for car maintenance as well. And but I've been budgeting for a long time. And once we get good at our money, I will say, teach it to your children, so your children won't make the same mistakes that you made on your journey because then you know better, you do better, you teach them better as well. And so those are the biggest sinking funds. I say birthdays, Christmas, because when Christmas comes, it comes December 25th every year. Instead of you being stressed about how you're going to buy all these gifts.
Right.
And if you don't have it, don't stress yourself. And that's another thing I tell people. If you don't have the money, don't spend $400 on a birthday party if you don't have the money. Kids are happy with cake. You get them a gift they actually want, some cake, had their little friends over, get some hot dogs, hamburgers, put them on
Art.
the grill.
Mhm. Yep.
You good.
Yep.
You good. That's a birthday party to kids. Let them run around and be kids. But we want to be like, oh, you want to go here and do this? If you can't afford it, don't do it because you're
Right.
gonna put yourself in more stress.
Mhm.
So just don't do things that you can't afford as well. So like even if you have sinking funds, if you don't have enough in there to pay for what you want to pay for, do something else. Like
Yep.
if you don't have enough to pay in your birthday sinking funds to pay $500, $400, and you got 200 in there, do something that's $200 worth of fun for a
Yep.
kid. Kids generally will be happy with being with their friends and eating and running around. You can find that for a fairly decent price. So yes, those are good things to do is to try to save for those events that's coming up. But if you don't know how to budget, you're not going to save for those events.
Yeah, that's good, and I just think this is it's such a what you're talking about is such a thing that we miss out on so much. This discipline of budgeting that actually saves us money because we get ourselves in a lot of trouble. Like you said, when things come up that we've been knowing is going to come up, they come up, and now we're trying to scramble up the money for something, or not having the discipline sometimes to say no, right? Even to ourselves. Like you said, okay, this is $500. You only got $300 that's saved up for whatever you want to get. Instead of then giving that 300 and then swiping the other $200 on that car, how about you just buy the one that costs $300? So
Yeah,
be
exactly.
free and clear. I just think we have to begin. I've seen too many people get into that bad debt. I've seen too many people become stressed because of undisciplined budgeting and not saving for things. I've seen too many people come to the church for money, not because they're in a bad situation and they just simply need help, but because they went and spent $1,000 on something they didn't need. Somehow
Hmm.
forgot to pay that rent that was coming the next week, and I was like, Pastor, help us out because we're getting ready to get kicked out, right? But it, a lot of the times, it's about not having the discipline to budget, to save, and to take care of our resources and manage our resources in a way that God actually desires us, so that it works out the best for us, our families, and for those who we are um, enabled to help. Last question, Michelle. So, well, what would you say to encourage somebody, to help somebody who says, I don't have I hear everything you guys are saying. It sounds good, but I'm really in a position with my finances where I kind of work, I get paid, and it's gone right when I get it. And so I want to budget, but I feel like I don't have nothing to budget. I want to say I feel like I don't have anything left over to save. And so somebody who may be in this position feeling kind of hopeless, like they don't know how they're going to do any other things, and maybe they're, something that you can say to just encourage them that, hey, here's what you can do. Because I know sometimes we think we can't do nothing. There's always something that we can do to better our situation.
I will say with that, we have to get see where we're going. So if you have literally nothing, I'm all for intergenerational living. So if you have to move back home with your parents, if you know, have them, you have a good relationship with them, do that. If you need to get a roommate or somebody you trust, you may have to do that as well. So it's like, don't go broke living beyond your means, trying to look independent,
Mhm.
um, and all this other good stuff. So if you literally have no money, you have to start to look like, where am I actually spending my money? And if you are in that dire straits, then you might have to get a second job. All the nice clothes you got, start selling this stuff off. So it's like, there's other things you can do. I mean, you can have a yard sale and make some pretty good money just over a quick weekend to kind of pay off some of the debt that you may have that could be causing you these issues. So you have to really look at what financial position you're in, because it varies for everybody what financial position you're in. And if it's that bad for you, you can reach out to me and I will like sit down and go over stuff with you and like help you and show you where ways you can save money. But if it's that bad, you really should look at, how am I utilizing my money? And do I make enough money to live the lifestyle that I want? If not, start applying for other jobs as well. So it's like, sometimes it's just that we don't want to, like, we're comfortable where we're at working. And if you have skills, use those skills and don't lie on your resume, but you know, find better ways to describe what you do
Right.
and get you a better paying job, because that will help you as well. If you're having problems with getting a better paying job, and not saying that you'll get it like as soon as you apply, but try to find something else to do. Get a roommate. Like I said, move back home. If you can't afford, like if your car is expensive, because that's another reason a lot of people live behind their means, is the amount of their car. But it's typically because they put too much bad debt, and when they went to go get a car loan, their interest rate was super high. You may have to turn that car in and find something cheaper. So there are a lot of different ways to do it. But if you're living beyond your means, then you're not being a good steward over your money anyway, because you knew you couldn't afford to live these places. And again, I know with the pandemic, some people had really good jobs and lost them, but they didn't want to reevaluate how they were living life. So if you didn't, now may be a good time to reevaluate how you're living life and how you're actually spending your money. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses and nobody else. You just need to keep up with you and make sure that you're a better version of yourself. And that can change over time. That can look different over time. And if you didn't save up and store up your money for hard times, I tell everybody, try to have 6 months to a year of your actual bills in your account. It's hard to do that if you are spending all of your money right now just to live a regular life. And it's like, you're not even getting to enjoy it because you either A, enjoyed it too much, or B, you are living a lifestyle that you want everybody else to think that you're doing well. And if you, some people just really make minimum wage and they just can't afford it. If you make minimum wage, there are a lot of government assistance programs. I know people are like, we don't need to be living off the government. If it's there, you better go take advantage of it and see what help you can get in those areas, because you may have a need that you can help. If you qualify for food stamps or low income housing or housing that goes by your income, those things are available. Look into those things as well. Never be ashamed to go get help if you need help. So I would say evaluate what you're actually spending your money on is the biggest thing to do.
Very, very, very good and powerful tips that can help anybody and everybody out. So, Michelle, thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank you for your information. You did mention that if somebody just kind of needed really to get help, they could reach out to you. So, do you want to share how people can reach out
Oh
to you,
yeah.
with you
So
if they need some financial advice and some help?
yeah, so you can email me at M as in Mary, U as in under, Y as in yellow, G as in girl, U as in under, S as in Sam, T as in Thomas, O as in Oscar at hotmail.com. It's muy gusto, but not everybody speaks Spanish, so I figured it's easier to just spell it. And you email me and I will get back in contact with you, and I typically, especially Christians, I want everybody to be financially free. I normally don't even charge people because you already probably don't have the financial knowledge to even really pay me for what people would charge you for what I'll give you for free. But I typically help Christians for free because I want them to be able to be better givers.
We're going to put that email right here so you'll be able to reach out if you really do need the help. And like I told you, she's sweet, she's kind, she's nice. And so she's not even trying to charge you if you really can't afford to pay. But it would be my job to say, but if you can't afford to pay her. And even if you necessarily can't afford to pay the worth of the information, the value you get, you should still give something, because that is also right to do when people are putting in their time and their energy to helping you. All right, my sis. Well, I appreciate you. Another dope interview. Y'all don't forget to hit that subscribe button as you walk out the YouTube door. And we're going to say peace and out.